Old man here. When we first moved into this house, we switched over from septic to city sewer. That installation in pictures is coming right up. Here you can see the 4-inch pipe that's going to be run from the house all the way out into the city sewer, which is at the back of the property, about 100, maybe 120 yards from the back of the house. And the septic tank itself sits right outside the back of the house, marked by this X that you see on the screen here. And then the entire backyard is essentially the leach field, which is where all of the waste and leach and everything else gets seeped into the ground after it goes through, obviously, the septic tank. So what we have to do here is dig part of the septic tank up, at least where the pipes are, and then disconnect that from the house, and then these 4-inch pipes will be run out to the back of the property. This next video shows the start of the excavation of the trench that is going to be dug all the way from the back of the house into the city sewer tie-in, again, which is at the back of the property. So here's a video of our sewer system getting installed. We're going from a septic and we're going to tie into city sewer. So this is pretty cool. He took this backhoe straight through back our property, found a clear path, which is amazing, and we're gonna dig a trench all the way back to my stub out, which is on the back of my property. There's my neighbor over there, and then there's a sewer line, main sewer line on this easement. You can see that goes back here about 30 feet or so. And from here to the edge of my lawn is probably 70 feet. Good stuff. Here's another photo of the 4-inch pipe that's going to be running from the back of the house to the back of the property where the city sewer is. I think I mentioned earlier that's probably 100 yards. I was mistaken on that. It's more like 200 feet. As you can see here, I think there's 9 or 10 pieces here. These are 20-foot lengths each. So that runs out to about 200 feet or so. And it's still a long way for sewer to travel, but we're going to get it done here in a little bit. And the excavation, as you saw in the previous video, has started, and that is going to continue on as we continue to move forward. Here you can see our guy getting his excavator ready to dig out some more trench, and as you saw in the earlier video, he was able to find a clear path all the way back to the city sewer, and he is kind of scoping out where the path is going to go from the back of the house to where that path starts to go back to the main sewer line tie-in. And obviously he's getting his equipment ready here. You see the bucket that's already on the tractor, and then another bucket there for digging out a little deeper trench when we get to that point. So this whole process here, if I remember correctly, only took about 3 hours to get all the way back to where the city sewer is, and it went pretty quick. So I was pretty impressed by this particular piece of equipment, digging out a trench to put the piping in. Here you can see him getting ready to operate the tractor to start digging the trench. And if you look in the background, right where the arm comes out of the tractor, behind there you can see where the path is basically going to be. So from this point all the way out to where that tree line starts, way in the back, is probably about 100 feet, maybe 80 feet, somewhere in that area. And then it's another 100 feet to the main line in the back of the property. Here's a good pic showing the trench being dug out. And looks like about here we're about at 40 feet. And you can see how much work this little piece of equipment is doing, and with all the dirt being piled out to the sides here. And then if you also look to the left there, you can see all the piping and fittings that are going to be put into place. The worker behind that small tree is already starting to lay out the pipe. Now, one thing to keep in mind, there has to be a slope that's going to go from the back of the house all the way back to the sewer line back in the woods there. And typically it's like 1 inch for every 12 feet, maybe 1 inch every 20 feet in this case, just so the debris and sewage that's going to come out of the house makes it back to the city sewer line. So he will be doing that and measuring from the elevation from where the pipe is all the way back there. So it's going to be quite a drop to allow the material from the piping to make it back to the end of the line. And we'll show you how that looks here shortly. Here's another pic of how the excavator has removed the dirt from the trench and piled it out on the side here. At this point, we're probably 60 to 80 feet from the back of the house, and continuing on as we move closer to the wooded area to get back to the main line. Again, once we put all of the piping in, we'll simply backfill the trench with the existing dirt and pack it down. Here you can see we've reached the edge of the wooded area with that path that he did earlier to get back to the main line at the back of the property. And that trench right now is about 2 feet deep where the piping is going to go. So we're making good progress on this one here. I think in total this one took about an hour, maybe an hour and a half to get all the way to this point, just making a nice smooth run. What's interesting about this, there are a lot of roots in the backyard, of course, that are just part of the landscape. And it was very easy for the tractor and his bucket here to rip those roots out as he was going through. It's a very powerful machine, so we were able to witness that firsthand. So as we got closer to some of the trees and he was digging this trench out, basically the bucket was just ripping through the roots, and they came all the way up and just kept on going. So that was kind of neat to see. Also, because the backyard is a leach field, there's a lot of 4-inch corrugated piping that runs in rows in the backyard. And as we were trenching this out, some of that was coming up. Now, it was all dry because the septic tank was not really running at that point, but all of that piping is still in the backyard and was being basically plowed up as he was going through digging out this trench. So none of that's really needed, so it's not a big deal, but just an interesting part of the project. So we've gotten to a point here where we are going to be continuing into the woods here to get back to the main line, and we are going to stop the video here, call this part completed, and continue on with the next series. So until those pictures and words come up, peace out.